welcome to this week's practice. I did say this last week, I'll mention it again today. It is lambing season at the moment and I live next door to a farmyard, so if you hear sheep, that's what that is. Today's practice is going to be quite twisty, working on quite a lot of twists, so just work to your own ability, and if anything doesn't feel quite right or doesn't feel good or too much sensation, just back off or maybe miss it out. Just be intuitive. So we'll begin the practice down onto our backs, as we often do. So just laying down. Take the feet about as wide as the mat. And then just initially allow the knees to drop in and touch. Just taking a moment to come into your own space. You could just let the hands rest gently onto the belly. Just separate the knees out wider. And then maybe place the hands in a tira cactus shape and just let the knees drop over to one side, move back through centre, over to the other side. You don't have to make these movements really big, the knees don't have to come over and hit the floor. We're just gently bringing a little bit of movement into the lower body. Complete the round that you're on, coming back to stillness. Bring the right knee in towards the chest and let the left leg straighten if comfortable. And then just take the hands towards the back of the thigh and just straighten the right leg up towards the ceiling. It does not have to completely straighten out here. In fact, you might want to bend and flex at the knee a few times. Next time the leg is straight, just holding it there. Maybe take the hands slightly higher up, bringing the leg in a little closer. And then just take the hands away, just take the hands behind the head. You can interlink the fingers or just rest one hand on the other. And just flexing into that right foot, and then just hover the left foot off the ground. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, just swap the legs. Take a breath in and then breathe out, swap the legs back. Let the left foot drop down to the floor, bending into the right knee. Take the left hand onto the right knee, right hand out to the side, just guide that right knee across the body. Taking the focus of the breath into the right side of the rib cage. Slowly coming back centre. Maybe finally squeeze that knee in a little closer, flexing into the left foot, pushing the heel away from you. And then just drop the right foot down to the floor. Bring the left knee in towards the chest, straightening the right leg out. And then take the hands to the back of the left thigh, straightening the leg up, and then just take a few bending and flexing motions just at the knee, remembering the leg doesn't have to completely straighten. And next time the leg is in a straight position, holding it there. Maybe take the hands a little higher up the leg if you've got the space to do so. And then again, take the hands towards the back of the head. And then just hover the right foot off of the floor. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, just swap the legs. Take a breath in. Breathe out, swapping the legs again. And then just drop that right foot down to the floor, hug the left knee, take hold of it with the right hand, left hand out to the side, guiding it across the body. Moving back to centre, just hug that knee in one final time, maybe reaching through the heel of the right foot. And then releasing off, take the legs out straight, reach the arms up overhead, come into a full body stretch. And then bringing the knees in, you might gently massage the back into the floor. We're going to come up to a seated position from here, so you can either roll off to the side or maybe take a few massaging rocks up and down the spine. And then just find your way to a seated position. And just sit with crossed legs if you can for a moment. And then just gently rest the hands on towards the knees. And just take a few body circles, rolling the body over one knee, then the other. Coming back behind. Take them back the opposite way. Coming back to stillness. Just place the hands on towards the floor in front of you and just start to walk them out. And then just drop the forehead down towards the floor. It doesn't have to touch, it can hang in space, or it might gently rest on towards the floor. Walking the hands back in, coming back to an upright seated position. Take a breath in, reaching the arms up, interlink the fingers, turn and press. And I'm going to take this into a twisty flow. So as you breathe in, reach up, breathe out, twisting to the right, left hand towards the right knee, right hand behind. Breathing in, lifting the arms back up, and then round to the other side. Just take a few of these at your own pace. Finding the depth and the speed that works for you. One more on each side. Reaching back up, coming back centre, bringing the hands back down. And then just take the legs out in front. And then place your right ankle on towards your left knee. So we're going to do a seated figure of 4. And just start to bring that foot in a little closer, make sure the right foot is flexed, And then maybe walking the hips a bit closer. So just coming in as close as is comfortable for you. Stretching into the outside of the right hip. Gently release off a little ways, but not too far. Plant the left hand into the floor, reach the right arm up, and then take the right arm over and just place the back of the arm maybe against the sole of that foot. And we'll just use that as a bit of leverage to twist you round to the side. If you can't get this part of the arm, you might simply hold on to the knee or the foot, whatever works better for you. Coming back centre and just releasing off here. Take a few moments, you might rock the knees out. And then coming into the other side, so taking the left ankle on towards the right thigh, and just edging yourself in, close enough to get enough sensation but not too much. Just backing off slightly, plant the right hand, reach left arm up to the ceiling, and then coming across the body, resting against that foot again. Releasing off, releasing the legs off, again maybe a few knee drops. And then we're going to come round to a tabletop position. So find yourself in an all-fours tabletop position here. Going to take a few cat-cow stretches. So dipping the belly, sending the chest through the shoulders, gazing forwards, rounding the back, taking the gaze towards the belly button, moving at your own pace here. And then you might want to take this into more of a wild cat movement, so you might bring a few body rolls into it, bringing the side body in. If you're taking it into any kind of a circle, make sure you go in both directions here. Slowly coming back to stillness, and we're going to find our child pose from here. So just take the bottom back towards the heels, let the forehead rest down towards the floor. You can either keep the arms out in front, maybe rest them, the head on the hands, or you might even take them down by the sides of the body, whatever feels better for you. Taking the gaze, the space between the hands, coming back upright to our all-fours tabletop position, making sure the knees are in line with the hips. Start to walk the hands forward and start to drop the forehead down towards the floor. Coming into our puppy pose. Back in, upright. I'm going to do a twisty version of that, I thread the needle. So just planting the left hand into the floor, reach right arm up towards the ceiling, and then send that right hand underneath the left armpit, lowering towards the right shoulder, and either having the left hand planted onto the floor, or you might reach the arm out in front. Planting the left hand back by the side of the face, pushing into the hand, reaching the right arm up, and then planting right hand back down. Then taking left hand, reaching up towards the ceiling, taking left hand under right armpit, lowering down towards the shoulder, and then option to just push into the mat with that right hand, or reaching the arm out in front. Just checking that your hips aren't scooching round to the right. If they are, just straighten them back up. Bringing right hand in if you extended it, planting in towards the floor, reaching the left arm up, and then coming back down towards the mat. Now for the next posture, just taking your right leg out to the side, parallel with your right hip. And just take a moment to rock backwards and forwards here. You might feel a sensation in towards the inside of the right leg. And then from here, just come back to stillness, and we'll do a puppy stretch like we did before, but we're keeping the leg here this time. So walking the hands out in front and lowering down towards the forehead. You might find you don't have quite as much range of movement with the leg out to the side. Walk the hands back in, pick up that right leg and then take it out behind you, giving it about parallel with the hip, and then just bending towards the right knee so the foot's coming up towards the ceiling, and then there's option to stay here or reach back with the left hand, holding onto the foot or the ankle. Just come into your tiger pose, so pushing the hand and the foot into each other. And then releasing off, coming back towards your 4-point kneeling. We'll come into the other side. So taking the left foot out towards the side, parallel with the hip, and then just rock backwards and forwards a few times. And then from here, just starting to walk the hands a bit further forward, finding our puppy pose. Walking the hands back in. Picking up the left leg, taking it behind you. Bending in towards that knee, option to stay here or reaching back with the right hand, taking hold of the foot or the ankle and pushing the hand and the ankle into each other. Releasing off, back towards our 4-point kneeling. And then from here, tucking the toes under, lifting the hips up, finding our downward facing dog. So in your downward dog, you might feel like you want to pedal the feet out. Spend the next few moments just moving in that space. And then option to lift the right leg up towards the ceiling, feel that stretch down the left leg. And then just bring the knee in towards the chest. stepping in between the hands, lowering down towards the left knee. So we're in our low lunge here. Just sitting in your low lunge, settling, making sure that ankle and knee are in line here. And just take a few straightening and bending motions, lengthening into the back of that right leg. And then next time the leg is in its straight position, just holding it there. And an option to fold a little bit deeper over that leg if you have the space to do so. Bending back in towards the knee. And then planting left hand in towards the floor, reaching the right arm up towards the ceiling, so finding a simple twist from here. And just lower the right hand down so it's inside of the right foot, and just heel toe the right foot out to the side of the mat. And now you might want to take the left hand a bit further out to the side or forward, pick up the right toes and then bring the right foot so it's facing out towards the side. And then we'll take the hand to the right knee and push the left hip in towards the floor, so finding our Shiva lunge. The left hip isn't necessarily going to come all the way down to the floor. Just really opening into that side body. Couple more breaths here. And then just straightening up, bring the right foot so the toes are pointing forwards. And then this time planting left hand, bringing right arm up and over. Option to stay here, or you could bend the left knee, take hold of the foot, bring the heel in a bit closer to the bottom, stretching into the quads. Releasing off. Framing that front foot, tuck the back toes, and then taking a step back towards your downward facing dog. Moving forwards and towards your plank. An option to drop to the knees or lower yourself all the way down towards the floor through your plank. And then once down, take the hands gently underneath the shoulders. We'll do 3 baby cobras. You have the option to lift with keeping the hands down, or you could lift the chest and the hands, whatever works best for you. So, breathing in to come up, and then breathing out to lower down. Breathe in and come up, breathing out to lower down. One more, coming up, and then lowering all the way down. Tuck the back toes under, finding your downward facing dog. And then lifting left leg up towards the ceiling, staying straight and square here, bringing that foot through, stepping in between the hands, dropping down towards the right knee. So we're in our low lunge on the other side now. And just take a few of those bending and straightening movements between low lunge and half splits. And then next time you're in your straight leg position, just holding it there. And then dropping the chest down towards that leg. If you've got the space to do so, you might prefer to stay up. And then bending back in towards that knee. Planting right hand into the floor, reaching the left arm up towards the ceiling. And then bringing the left hand down inside of the left foot. Heel toe that left foot out a bit wider. Pick up the toes and then turn that foot out to the side. You might need to adjust the right hand slightly. Dropping down towards the right hip. Left hand resting on towards the left knee or the left leg. You might notice one side gives you more of an opening than the other. This is my tighter side, I think. Turning back down towards the floor. And then just turning the left foot back forwards, planting the right hand again, reaching left arm up, taking it back. And then option to take hold of the right ankle and come into that quad stretch, bringing the foot in towards the bottom here. Releasing off, framing that front foot, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, taking a step back to your downward facing dog. And then moving through a flow, coming in towards your plank. Option to drop the knees or lower all the way down towards the floor. And then placing the hands under the shoulders. You could either do a baby cobra or you might come up a little higher this time. Lowering back down towards the floor. Taking the hands back under the shoulders, tucking the toes, moving back towards your downward facing dog. And then from here, lifting the right leg up towards the ceiling. If you want to bend the knee and open the hip, go ahead. Just try and pull that right shoulder down towards the floor, keeping them square. And then straightening up. And then coming into a plank, bringing the knee underneath the chest, stepping through. This time don't drop the back knee, making sure your hip distance. We're coming up into our high lunge here. So slowly coming up. You can either bring the hands towards prayer at the chest, or you could take them up towards the ceiling. Now if you've got your hands up to the ceiling, bring them back down towards the centre of the chest and just turning the upper body around towards the right. And then option to stay here, or you could hook that left elbow over the right knee, finding your prayer twist. Turning back centre, drop the hands down to frame that foot and then just gently start to straighten into that right leg. It might not straighten fully here. It's from quite a long pyramid stretch. If you feel that you've got plenty of space in the legs straightening easily, you can walk the hands a bit further forward, folding down over that leg. Starting to bend back in towards that right knee, framing the foot, taking a step back towards your downward dog, either waiting here or coming through a flow. So coming in to plank, lowering down, you might lower to the floor, you might hover, you might find your cobra or maybe your upward dog, and then back towards downward facing dog. And then reaching left leg up towards the ceiling. You might bend the knee and open the hip, just checking the shoulders are square. Squaring up, bringing the left knee underneath the chest, coming into your plank, and then stepping the foot through, coming into our high lunge on the other side. So coming up, either prayer at the chest or taking the arms up towards the ceiling. Got your arms up, then bringing them down towards the heart centre, turning around towards the left, option to stay upright or hook your right elbow over your left knee, and then the gaze going towards behind you or towards the side. Slowly coming back centre, and then lowering down, framing that foot, and again starting to work that left knee straight. And then option to go a bit deeper, you might walk the hands a bit further forward, lowering down. Walking the hands back in, bending in towards the knee, and then again taking a step back to your downward dog, either waiting or moving through a flow, so into plank, lowering down, choosing your back bend, and then downward facing dog. And then from our downward dog, just start to walk the feet up towards the top of the mat, and then have them about hip distance into your easy forward fold. So you might want to picture frame the head with the hands, or just let the arms be really heavy. You might sway. And then just take the hands on towards the shins and lift yourself into your flat back shape. Keep the back and the neck nice and long, so looking down towards the floor in front of you. Take the hands on towards the hips, slowly coming upright, finding a standing position, coming into our mountain pose. So just making sure you've got a little bit of space in front of you and a little bit of space behind you. We're going to do a little bit of balancing, so we're going to find our tree pose first. So just taking a moment to centre, ground. You might lift the big toes up, spread them out, lower them down. Arms down by the sides. You might even take a moment to close the eyes. If you have the eyes closed, just reopening them. We're going to find our tree pose. So with the right leg first. So bringing the knee up, you might just place the heel against the ankle. Or you might take it a bit higher up the leg, avoid having the foot over the knee. I'm going to take mine up into the thigh, you don't have to go that high. And then either take the hands towards a prayer at the chest, or you might choose a different position. They might go up to the ceiling, they might be separate, they might be together, whatever feels good. Rooting into that standing leg. And then if you have the arms up, just bring them back down towards the chest, and then bring the right knee so it's out in front of you. Take the left hand towards the right knee and reach the right arm out behind. So here's one variant of the twist. If you want to go a bit further with it, you could take hold of the outside of the right foot and start working that leg towards being straight. It doesn't have to completely straighten, you might stay here. And then if you're feeling really stable, you might gaze over the right shoulder towards the hand behind. Turning back forwards, releasing that foot, take the hands back towards prayer at the chest, try to keep the right foot up still, and then kicking it back, just finding our warrior 3 for a moment or two, so squaring the hips, flex the foot, toes down towards the floor. And then slowly coming back towards your mountain pose. Coming into the other side, so take a moment, grounding the feet. And then picking up the left leg, taking it to your preferred place on the thigh, finding our tree pose. And your preferred hand position, you might want to play with a different one on this side. If you're feeling really stable, you might even try balancing with your eyes closed or looking up. And then bringing the hand back towards the chest, bringing that left knee so it's forwards, taking right hand to left knee, reaching left arm out behind. Option to stay here, or you could take hold of the outside of the left foot and start working towards that straight leg, maybe even looking over the left shoulder. Slowly turning back centre, letting go of the foot and the knee. Take the hands back towards a prayer at the chest, kicking that left foot back, finding our warrior three. Remembering to breathe, just in case you forgot. And then slowly coming back upright. And then just relax. And then from here, take a step back with your right foot, so we're facing the side edge of the mat. And then just have the toes facing forwards initially. Take the hands on towards the hips. Breathe in, lifting the chest. You might gaze up. And then breathing out, folding forwards. Finding our forward fold here, so you could take the hands down towards the floor if that's there for you. You might be resting them on the shins or the thighs if you don't go quite so deep. Take a breath in, lifting the chest up, making a flat back, and then folding down. Gazing either to the floor or to the room behind you. Walking the hands out, making a flat back, and then just turning the toes outwards and take a bend in towards the knees. We're going to find our goddess legs here. Take right hand onto right thigh, left hand onto left thigh, and just gently press against the thighs. See if you can squat a little bit deeper. Then we're going to take a twist from here, so just start to dip the left shoulder down, straightening the left arm, turning, looking over your right shoulder. Try to have the right arm straight too. It's quite challenging to do that. Turn back centre, going the other way, right shoulder dips, looking over left shoulder. Turning back centre, straightening into the legs, coming upright. Turning the feet so the toes are facing in again. And then take the hands on towards the hips, breathe in, lifting the chest, and then folding down again. Coming back to that wide leg fold, you could choose a different hand position if you like this time. You might want to hook the big toes. Take a breath in, making a flat back, and then folding down. Breathe in, coming up. Take the hands out in front. You might want to heel toe the feet in slightly closer, so they're at about a leg's length. Take the hands on towards the hips, coming back upright, turning the right foot out to the side and turning the left foot in. Take the arms out towards a T shape, reach in towards the right hand and then coming down in towards your triangle. So your right hand can come towards your shin, your ankle, foot, floor. Left hand either up towards the ceiling, if it's more comfortable, you might take it behind the back. Gaze up if you're okay in the neck, or you might prefer to gaze down. Cartwheel that left hand down towards the floor. Just frame that right foot. We're going to take our twisted triangle from here. So you could either have the left hand, the big toe side of the foot. You might have it on towards the shin. You might even take it to the little toe side of the foot. And then take the right hand onto the hip, twisting around towards the right. Maybe reaching the right arm up towards the ceiling. Back down. Keep the legs in that triangle shape, but just walk the upper body back towards the centre. If you feel anything in this knee, just slightly bend it. Take one of your right hand and either take it to the right, to the left thigh, shin, ankle, just holding there, and just allow the right shoulder to dip down towards the floor. And then start to walk the left hand around towards the front. You might stay here, or if you've got a little bit more space, you might take the left hand and hold on towards the right ankle. This is a lot, so obviously listen to your body. Releasing off, turning back centre, turning the feet square, take the hands onto the hips and slowly coming back up. So this time turning in that right foot, turning the left foot out, taking the arms out to that T shape, reaching in towards the left hand, and then coming down to your triangle on the other side. Again, take your hands to the place that feels good, also with your neck, only looking up if comfortable. Cartwheel that right hand down towards the floor, so you're framing your left foot. You might need to slightly bring that back foot into more of a block here, so finding our twisted triangle. So again, either big toe side of the foot onto the shin, or little toe side of the foot with the right hand. Take the left hand on towards the hip, turning around towards the left, and possibly even reaching left arm up to the ceiling. Turning back down towards the floor, framing that foot, and then keeping the legs as they are, just walk the hands around centre, remembering to soften that left knee if it's twinging a bit. And then from here, taking your left hand on towards your left thigh, maybe the shin, maybe the ankle, and just let that left shoulder drop down. So you're sort of peeking under your right armpit. You could walk the right hand around out in front, or even take hold of your left ankle. Just gently releasing off, and then walk the hands round towards the top of the mat, taking a step back towards your downward facing dog, waiting here, or just moving through a flow, finding your plank, lowering down, choosing a back bend, and then lifting the hips back towards your downward facing dog. And And then from here, just drop down towards the knees. And then touch the big toes together, take the bottom back towards the heels, finding your child pose, lowering the head down. Slowly coming up, we're going to take a seated position. So sitting down, taking the legs out in front in our seated staff, and then from here breathing, taking the arms up, soften the knees if you need to, breathing out, folding forwards over the legs, and once you've met your edge, take a breath in, lifting the chest, breathing out, lowering down. Slowly coming back upright, and then bending in towards the right knee, and take the right foot over the left leg, and then you might bend the left knee, bringing that left foot around by your right hip, and then we're going to take a twist from here. So either hugging on towards this right knee with the left arm, or you might reach up and over, making a stop sign, turning, planting the right hand into the floor, gazing over your shoulder. Turning back forwards, taking your right leg and then bringing that right heel around by your left hip, so working towards stacking the knees, finding our cow face position. Now you might find that your knees are a little bit off centre. It's completely natural, don't worry, don't force it, don't push into it if it's not there for you. If your knees are stacked and you're comfortable, you might reach the arms out in front, take the right arm underneath the left, bind once or bind twice. Either take a breath in, lifting the chest, staying here, or folding down over your Gomakasana legs with your eagle arms. Slowly coming back up, releasing the arms out. Now for the next posture, we're going to do a variation of Camel Pose. So if your knees are more here and you're not able to stack them, I would suggest releasing the legs out, coming up to kneeling and taking your Camel Pose from here, taking regular Camel Pose. If your knees are stacked and you're quite comfortable with your Gomakasana legs, I'm going to take a bit of a weird, funky variation. You might not be able to go quite as deeply into the back bend with this version. It comes into the IT band a bit more, it's more of an outer hip stretch as well. So taking the hands out in front of you, and just bring the weight forwards so both knees are on the floor but they're still crossed. Now, this is a bit of a balance, so you might need to have the feet a bit further out, and if you can come upright with the knees still crossed, then well done. Take the hands onto the hips. If this is already enough and you can feel it in your IT band or the outside of your hips, just stay here. If you want to take your Camel Pose, just take the hands to the backs of the hips, lifting the chest, take a breath in, and then just start to come back. If you've got the ability to reach down and take the heels, then go ahead. I can't reach the heels in this position personally. Continuing to breathe. And then slowly coming back upright. Take the hands down in front. Sitting back down. Releasing the legs out. And just take a few of those windscreen wiper movements. then ready for that little sequence on the other side, so straightening the legs out, bending in towards the left knee, taking it over the right leg, and then taking right heel around by the hip, and then we're twisting round to the left this time, so either hugging onto the knee or making your stop sign, touching the left hand to the floor behind, gazing over your shoulder. Turning back centre, and then this time on the other side, working to line the knees up, finding your Gomakasana legs, or whatever your version of this looks like. So either staying upright if you're getting enough feedback here, or reaching the arms out in front. This time the left arm comes underneath the right, binding once or twice. Take a breath in, lifting the chest, and breathe out, folding forwards. Slowly coming back upright, releasing the bind. Now again, you know what's coming next, so if taking regular camel pose is going to work better for you, release the bind of your legs and just come into your kneeling position. If you're coming with me, take the hands forwards, take the weight in towards the knees until both knees are on towards the floor, but crossed over. And then once you've adjusted the feet so you can balance, start working to come upright. It's quite a challenging balance here as it is. You might stay upright just with the hands onto the hips, or you may take the hands to the back of the hips, lifting the chest, and then taking your back bend, and taking the hands back to the feet, if you've got the range of movement for that. Slowly coming back upright, take the hands back down to the floor in front of you, lowering down, releasing those legs out. And again, take that windscreen wiper with the knees. And then just one more bit of strength before we come down onto our back. Take the hands planting into the floor behind, fingers facing forwards or backwards. Take the feet hip distance, either lifting the chest here, or you might lift up, coming into your tabletop, your reverse tabletop. Try not to let the belly sag, try to push so the belly is level with the thighs. We're just looking up towards the ceiling. And then lowering back down towards the floor. We're going to come down onto our back now. So just take the hands to the backs of the thighs, rounding into the back, and just gently lowering yourself down. And once down on towards the floor, just have the knees bent up towards the ceiling. And then place your right foot back on towards that thigh like we did earlier on, but this time we're reclined. And then you could stay here, gently pushing in towards the hands, or you could bring that knee in towards the chest. So in our reclined pigeon pose, I'm just observing how it feeds back differently into your body, being on your back than it did when we were upright. Then just planting that left foot back on towards the floor, and then taking your right thigh so it's crossing over the left. Now you can either just take your twist from here, Just let the knees dropping over to the left. Or you could straighten your left leg out and guide your right knee across your body. Option to stay here. If you've got the space, you might take the foot and work to straighten the leg out. I don't actually have the space to do that without some shuffling. Right arm out to the side, either staying here, or if you want to come into full cat-tail pose, you might bend into the left knee and take hold of that left foot or ankle. This is a big twist, so obviously stop off at the place that works best for you. If you're in your full cat-tail pose, make sure both shoulder blades are resting on towards the floor, the chest is up towards the ceiling. Just breathing here. Holding onto your left foot, releasing it out, bending into the knee if you straightened your right leg, engaging your abdominals, turning yourself back centre. And then before we go into the other side, just bring the knees in towards the chest and just gently massage the back into the floor. And then planting right foot down, take left ankle onto the right thigh. Option to bring the knees into the chest. Dropping the right foot back down to the floor, and a few options for your twist. You could either cross the thighs and then just twist in your regular twisted route. You could have the right leg straight, guiding the left knee across the body, either straightening the left leg, holding onto the leg or the foot, or you could take your full cat-tail pose, bend into the right foot, taking hold of the right foot or ankle. If you're in your full cat-tail, make sure both shoulder blades are down onto the floor. If they're not, just back off slightly. Holding your right foot, releasing your bending into the left leg if you straightened it, bringing the hips back square, and again knees in towards the chest, gently rocking into the mat. And then just taking your hands underneath your hips, and then take the legs up towards the ceiling. If you have equipment, if you have a block, it's nice to prop the block under the hips. You could do that. Find our waterfall pose here. If you have a wall nearby, you might want to do legs up the wall. That's also a really lovely restorative posture to be in. So in your waterfall pose, you want your legs straight but not locked. So I haven't locked my knees, flexed or pointed my feet. The legs are straight but they're relaxed. Take a bend into the knees, bring them back into the chest, remove the hands from the back of the hips, and then drop one foot to the floor and then the other, and just take a moment to find everything you need for your Shavasana. So any warm clothing, if you want a nice long Shavasana, you might turn the video off now and just make yourself comfortable. Or if you're going to take Shavasana with me, it'll be a couple of minutes in stillness, I'll chime the singing bowl when it's time for the practice to end. So once comfortable and in a position that feels good for you, just let the eyes close. Let go of any breathing practices you might have been doing. Start to take a few deeper breaths, breathing energy back into the body, bringing in movement when ready, starting small and then making it larger. And then when you finish taking all the movement that you wish to take, just roll over to the side and linger there for a moment or two. And then slowly, when ready, finding yourself to an upright seated position. And then once seated upright, reach the arms up towards the ceiling, collectively touch the palms together, bringing hands down towards centre of chest. Thank you for sharing time with me. Namaste. Be well, and I'll see you next time.